In frames of old, a story's told. I remember spending hours with my grandmother, her fingers tracing the faces in sepia-toned photographs. These were our ghosts, our pioneers. Aunts, uncles, ancestors who had packed their lives into a single suitcase. They sailed towards horizons we could only imagine. In their faded smiles, I see the quiet echo of a promise whispered across oceans. But these journeys were not unique to my family. They are part of a colossal human story. A migration on a scale so vast it has its own name. The Dragon's Footprint. Picture our Earth from space. Now watch as golden threads begin to weave out from China, branching across every continent. Each thread is a journey, each destination a footprint. This refers to the Chinese communities abroad. Over 50 million people of Chinese descent now live outside of China, forming one of the largest and most influential global communities. From the bustling markets of Southeast Asia to the financial hubs of North America, their presence has reshaped cultures and economies. This is not just a story of the past. It is a living, breathing network that continues to connect our modern world in profound and unexpected ways. Long before our modern age of instant connection, the world was first woven together by threads of silk and steel. Across the vast, unforgiving landscapes of Central Asia, the Silk Road emerged. It was not a single path, but a sprawling network of arteries carrying lifeblood between east and west. Merchants guided their caravans, seeking fortune in exotic goods. But they carried more than just cargo. Monks transported sacred texts, planting the seeds of faith in foreign lands, while artisans shared their craft, forever changing distant cultures. It was a network woven not just from silk, but from shared knowledge, faith, and ambition. Over 1,000 years later, a new chapter in global exchange began, this time upon the sea. In the early 15th century, the Ming Dynasty Admiral Zheng commanded the great treasure fleets. These were not fleets of conquest, but of diplomacy. An entire floating city, sailing not to conquer, but to connect. His colossal ships, dwarfing their European contemporaries, projected Zhongyan power和prestige across the Indian Ocean. They returned not with plunder, but with tribute, scientific knowledge, and exotic wonders like giraffes for the emperor's court. These voyages represented a monumental yet peaceful engagement with the world, a different vision of global interaction. A southerly breeze across the seas carried whispers of a promised land. For centuries, Chinese migrants looked towards Southeast Asia, a region they called Nanyang, or the Southern Ocean. They were drawn not just by spices and silks, but by the powerful allure of opportunity. Leaving hardship behind, these pioneers, mostly men, sailed from southern China toward a new horizon. They settled in bustling port cities, marrying local women and laying the foundation for a new, distinct identity. From this union of cultures, the Peranakan people were born, the Baba Nyonya. They were a bridge between worlds. Their very existence a testament to adaptation and aspiration. This cultural fusion found its most vibrant expression in cities like Malacca and Singapore. Here, new roots dug deep into foreign soil. The architecture tells the story. Shop houses adorned with Malay timber carvings and European tiles. Their language evolved into a unique patois, blending Hokkien with Malay. And in the kitchen, a spectacular new cuisine emerged, Nonya cooking, where Chinese wok techniques met the rich spices of the Malay archipelago. This was more than adaptation. It was the creation of a dynamic, hybrid society. A living mosaic where every tile tells a story of convergence. For millions in 19th century China, the world was not ending with a bang, but with a series of quiet, desperate goodbyes. The Qing dynasty, once mighty, was cracking under immense pressure. First came the Opium Wars, where foreign gunboats shattered centuries of isolation, forcing open ports and crippling the economy. This external shock was followed by an even deadlier internal storm, the Taiping Rebellion. This massive civil war became one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history, displacing millions and leaving entire provinces in ruins. Compounding this devastation was the final, inescapable push factor, famine. The land itself could no longer provide. Survival was no longer a given. It had to be sought elsewhere. Across the vast Pacific, a powerful rumor offered a sliver of hope. It was a whisper that became a roar. Gamsan, Gold Mountain. The California gold rush ignited a fever of possibility. For those facing starvation and war, it was a chance to trade despair for destiny. They endured perilous journeys, arriving in a rugged, unfamiliar land.
Here, 中国艰辛迫切地 work tirelessly.
Their hopes poured into every pan of river silt. They came seeking gold. But what they forged was the foundation of a new identity, hammered out on the anvil of the American West. The 19th century saw a monumental race to unite North America with iron rails. This task demanded more than steam. It demanded a human sacrifice of immense scale. Lured by promises of work, thousands of Chinese laborers became the backbone of the great railroads. They faced brutal conditions, chipping away at granite mountains and enduring deadly winters in the Sierra Nevada. Their uncredited engineering genius allowed them to conquer impossible terrain, laying track where others had failed. These men forged a continent's future with steel and sweat, yet history often erased their names from the very lines they built. But this was not the only story of Chinese labor abroad. A darker chapter unfolded to the south, in the brutal Coolie trade. Under the guise of indentured servitude, this system was a form of near slavery. Deceived and trafficked, men were sent to the sugar plantations of the Caribbean and the desolate guano pits of Peru. Here, they faced unspeakable exploitation, their lives consumed by grueling toil for distant profits. From this bitter legacy of suffering, however, a profound story of resilience would rise, a testament to a spirit that refused to be broken. From Canton's shore to southern sand, a new dream dawned in a sunburnt land. As news of Australian gold spread, thousands of Chinese prospectors embarked on an arduous journey, trading familiar fields for fortune fields down under. They arrived not as conquerors, but as diligent workers, facing immense hostility and discriminatory laws. Yet, their unique cooperative mining techniques and sheer perseverance often yielded success where others failed. They endured, becoming integral to the economic foundation of the fledgling colonies. In the face of this widespread animosity, a new kind of sanctuary was born, Chinatown. These were not mere ethnic enclaves. They were fortresses of culture built brick by brick with mutual support. Here, language, tradition, and festivals were fiercely preserved. They became vital economic incubators, where businesses could start, capital could be pooled, and newcomers could find a foothold. Far from being isolated islands, They were living arteries, pumping culture and resilience into the heart of foreign cities. A wok's great fire, a palate's new desire, the story of how a culinary tradition conquered the world. When Chinese immigrants arrived in new lands, they met a culinary crossroads. Facing unfamiliar ingredients and local tastes, they didn't just replicate old recipes, they innovated. They masterfully adapted, transforming traditional dishes into vibrant new creations. That would become global comfort food. From the bustling kitchens of San Francisco to the small towns of Peru, they turned necessity into a culinary art form. In their hands, food became a bridge between cultures, a delicious diplomacy that seasoned the global menu forever. But while their food was welcomed, the people themselves often were not. The United States enacted the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, a brutal law slamming the door on immigration. In its shadow, a desperate and ingenious strategy emerged. The paper sons and daughters. Citizens would report fictional children born in China, creating identity slots that could be sold. Aspiring immigrants would purchase these papers, memorizing intricate, fabricated family histories. At interrogation centers like Angel Island, they faced grueling questions, where a single wrong answer meant deportation. It was a high-stakes gamble, a fiction lived as fact. For thousands, this dangerous deception was the only path to a new life, a family tree grafted onto a lie born of hope. From steam and soot, a legacy took root. For the first generation of diaspora communities, economic survival was the immediate, all-consuming challenge. They entered industries with low barriers to entry, pouring their lives into laundries and restaurants. The work was relentless, the hours long. But these humble establishments were more than just a livelihood. They were the first rung on a ladder to a new future. In the quiet hum of the family shop, they forged the foundations of an empire. This tireless spirit was passed down, transforming small businesses into powerful, multi-generational enterprises that became legends in their communities. But as they built new fortunes, they faced another equally vital task, preserving the soul of their heritage. They needed to keep their culture alive. This wasn't left to chance. It was a deliberate, vibrant act. The explosive energy of Lunar New Year parades filled the streets with sound and color. The synchronized power of dragon boat festivals celebrated teamwork and tradition. These were not mere echoes of the past. They were the vibrant, living heartbeat of a people, kept alive. Far from home. Though scattered by seas, a new struggle began on foreign soil. For generations, quiet endurance was the shield against discrimination. But silence could not last forever. From the whispers of resilience, a roar for justice was born. Courageous individuals, then organized groups, began to challenge the status quo. They established community associations, published newspapers, and took to the streets, demanding the civil rights afforded to their neighbors. They fought discriminatory laws in courtrooms and campaigned for political representation, refusing to be invisible. Yet, this defiant spirit was forged in the fires of profound adversity. The history of the diaspora is also etched with the deep scars of intolerance. We must confront the painful chapters of anti-Chinese riots that tore through communities. The massacres driven by fear and greed, and the systemic injustice of exclusionary legislation. These were not random acts of violence, but calculated campaigns of hate. To examine these wounds is not to dwell on victimhood. Instead, it is to understand the immense strength required to survive them, and to recognize that every subsequent achievement was built upon this foundation of unyielding endurance. From the ashes of global conflict, a different kind of migration took flight. The post-war world, hungry for stability and progress, witnessed a new wave of travelers. These were not just laborers seeking work, but students pursuing world-class education, intellectuals fleeing instability, and professionals searching for new opportunities. They crossed oceans, leaving behind rebuilding nations, for the promise of Western universities and laboratories. This movement represented a profound global rebalancing of human capital, driven by the powerful engine of ambition. This exodus of talent, however, created a dual phenomenon: the brain drain and brain gain. While home countries felt the sharp loss of their brightest citizens, host nations experienced an intellectual renaissance. This infusion of new perspectives became a critical catalyst for innovation. Migrant scientists unlocked secrets of the atom and pioneered life-saving medical procedures. In the fertile orchards of Northern California, their expertise and relentless drive helped ignite a technological revolution. They transformed a quiet valley of fruit farms into the global epicenter of the digital age, Silicon Valley. These minds, transplanted across the globe, were the architects of our modern era, proving that a single brilliant idea carried across a border can reshape the future for all. Across the canvas of the 20th century, a new kind of bridge was built, not of steel or stone, but of story, movement, and light. These were the cultural architects who reshaped our world. In cinema, Bruce Lee shattered stereotypes with unparalleled martial artistry, introducing Eastern philosophy to a global audience. His fists and philosophy moved with equal speed. In architecture, I.M. Pei crafted structures of breathtaking elegance like the Louvre Pyramid, fusing modernism with a deep respect for history and place. He taught the world that buildings could speak a universal language of form and function. In literature, Amy Tan's novels gave voice to the intricate narratives of immigrant families, inviting millions to see the world through a new cultural lens. These icons were pioneers. They did not just cross borders, they dissolved them. This spirit finds its perfect modern expression in the work of cellist Yo-Yo Ma. He envisioned a new kind of orchestra, one that followed the path of the ancient Silk Road. The result was the Silk Road Ensemble, a collective of virtuoso musicians from dozens of countries. They merged disparate traditions, a Chinese pipa playing, the play on the Comanche, y una española gaita. It is a symphony of humanity, proving that our shared notes can compose a future of profound harmony. The story of diaspora is no longer just one of longing for a homeland left behind. A new age has dawned on a different stage, where a modern generation of entrepreneurs redefines what it means to connect. They are the new global architects, operating not from bustling ports, but from sleek digital hubs in tech, finance, and trade. These innovators leverage their dual heritage as a unique advantage, building bridges of commerce and code that span continents. They launch fintech startups in London that serve communities in Lagos, and manage supply chains from Toronto that connect factories in Guangzhou with markets in Berlin. They are not just sending remittances, they are investing capital, transferring skills, and weaving a complex, interconnected economic web. But beyond the balance sheets and boardrooms, a deeper story unfolds. For the second, third, and fourth generations, the question shifts from where are you from to who are you becoming? They navigate a complex world of dual identities, standing with a foot in two cultures, yet belonging fully to a new one of their own creation. This is the internal frontier of the diaspora experience. They blend traditions, creating vibrant fusion in art, food, and music. Identity is no longer a fixed point of origin, but a fluid, personal masterpiece, constantly being composed. Their lives are a testament that culture is not a relic to be preserved, but a living thing to be reinvented. A whisper on the wind, a pull from within, a map etched not on paper, but in the soul. For millions in the diaspora, the homeland is an echo, an inherited memory. This invisible thread tugs across oceans and generations, compelling a return. It's a pilgrimage not to a place, but to a piece of oneself. The first breath of village air. The first sight of a family home. The first embrace from a relative never met. These moments are profound. They are the closing of a circle started long ago. But what happens after? The story was never about erasure. The common metaphor of a melting pot suggests that individual cultures dissolve into a uniform whole. This idea is fundamentally flawed. A more accurate, more beautiful truth is that of a tapestry. The diaspora did not melt away. Instead, it wove its own distinct, vibrant thread into the fabric of new nations. Each thread brings unique color, texture, and strength, contributing to a pattern far richer and more complex than any single strand. This is the enduring legacy, but addition. The global tapestry is made more beautiful, not by losing threads, but by gaining them. From the first steps out of Africa, to the last ship crossing an ocean. One truth has defined our species. To move is to live. We are and have always been a people on the move, driven by need, by hope, by an unquenchable curiosity for the world beyond the horizon. This is the fundamental story of humanity. And it is the story of the dragon. The Great Migration was never an endpoint, but a single, powerful chapter in an epic that is still being written. Across new lands, the seeds of an ancient culture found new soil, not to conquer, but to contribute. They faced hardship, not with surrender, but with a profound and quiet resilience, a strength passed down through generations. They adapted, not by erasing their past, but by skillfully weaving it into the vibrant, complex tapestry of new homes and communities. This fusion, this exchange, created something stronger, more dynamic, more complete. The journey is far from over. It continues in the triumphs and struggles of each new generation, in the laughter of children who carry a dual heritage, in the fusion of flavors on a dinner plate, and in the shared dreams of a truly global society. In the endless ebb and flow of peoples, we find not an end to a journey, but the very pulse of life itself.